Good afternoon, good morning to everyone. Here's Birk Plönix from the Implant Studio team in Copenhagen. Today's webinar is going to be about guide design, part 1, how to design a guide and what kind of options we have. I have with me my colleague, Dr. Jan Polix, a doctor of dental surgery with many years of practical experience in implant surgery and also treating patients in his own clinic. As well as also working with different dentist systems and solution providers over the years. Myself, Birk, I'm the product director for implantology at 3Shape, and I'm taking care of the Implant Studio team. Today's webinar, as said, is about the guide design. It's the first series we're going to have as part of our webinar after the summer break. I can already say this is going to initiate a number of webinars we're going to run later this year. And maybe Jan, you want to say a few things about the content of today's event?
Yes, welcome everybody. We are going to talk about specific principles when doing a guide design. Things that are important for the design itself, but also things to think about already when the doctor is scanning the patient to do the guide. We will also talk about some known problems that we know when we do guide design. Teeth not standing in the correct position, patients not looking as they should, and also how we can solve them as well. And as a first, we will also show you 4 examples, 4 cases. We will do one case live, and then afterwards we will show you a link where you actually can download these cases and try for yourselves and see if you can beat me in the most fantastic guide design. So a small contest perhaps. When we are talking about surgical guides, we always like to think of it as giving the dentist and the surgeon benefits, especially that he can predict the outcome of the surgery and also to do guided prosthetics, that we call it.
Yes, and I think that's a very important point. I mean, guide to design and to use a surgical guide is part of the well-known guided surgery principle established in the industry or by dentists for many, many years. And this is what we're going to focus on today. But there's more to it because the guide is just the first step to allow guided prosthetics to finally treat the patient with a predictable outcome as planned at the very beginning and also as communicated with the patient. So surgical guide design, the quality of the guide is a key element of success of this kind of principle.
And everything with digital accuracy, not the least. We have and will get the benefit of the option to make a customized healing abutment. This can be used to restore the emergence profile or even to make a temporary crown or abutment. This we will actually show more about in an upcoming webinar in October. So at the end, please see the link and sign up for that webinar already now. We will come back to that later in connection with dental system. One more benefit is that a dentist or an oral surgeon, for them it's very important to be able to follow all the steps of our treatment, even before the actual surgery. The Implant Studio Planner and Guide Designer provides special reports both for how the planning was performed, but also as well as drill guide or drill instructions for how the surgeon can do this. These reports even contain different order numbers for all the products that are included in the surgery, so they can successfully order the right components. Surgical guides, they come in many shapes and sizes. This is just a few that I found on the net, but everything that is the same for them is that they give support for the drill, not having the doctor or the surgeon to be able to wiggle on the hand or have an unsteady hand when doing the surgery. And some of them actually also gives the direction and the depth of the drilling. So it depends on which kind of guide you are using. But what is in common for all these guides is that the design of them is very, very important. And we'll look at some principles for how to design the guides there. We will start by looking at tooth-supported guides. Later on we will also look at edentulous, but let's start today with tooth-supported. The principles are that this guide is both stable and of a solid construction. This is important because then we can avoid torsion or tension or bending of the guide when placing it, and then later on also when using it with the drills. It has to be hard enough so it doesn't expand when we place it on the teeth or even fracture. We cannot allow any rotations or movements. When we place the guide on the teeth, the guide is not allowed to wiggle or to move back and forth. And it's not even allowed to come off so easy. So the retention is quite important. Going into retention, we can also use the support from the surrounding tissues. This we can do by extending the guide to as many teeth as possible. We can also use, for example, anchor pins in free ends and in areas where there are no teeth to actually stabilize the guide not from wiggling. And last but not least, we also get a lot of control and safety by using the guide. This can be achieved by using transparent materials when we print the guide. We can also place windows so we can see that it has attached firmly on the teeth. And we can place extra bars or handles to make it easier to remove the guide afterwards, and even to fasten a small tether or floss in, so we can actually have it like a line, so if something happens with the guide and the patient is about to swallow something, we can easily grab it and pull it out of the mouth. So we can design the guides in many ways, but to be able to do this the best way, we also need the help from the dentist. We need a very, very good scan for this. And some of you might remember that we have made some videos and showed in earlier webinars is how to scan for surgical guides, the small series. Maybe you, Berk, can remind us of what happened there.
So it's a good. So we have made a series of videos where we showed to triage users on how to scan for surgical guides for different clinical conditions in available space, but also future position of the implant, and what to consider when taking the triage scan on how much of the supporting gingiva needs to be scanned and which strategy and way. And this is a key element also to secure the digital accuracy we were talking about previously, because the design of the guide is also depending on the quality of the scans as much as also going to depend on the actual design and the material thickness, but also the type of machinery being used. And all of them are components influencing the final outcome of the guided surgery.
Very good, thank you. What also is important is that when we design the guide, is that we don't make it too small. I will show you some examples in a short while, but try to get the doctor to scan the whole jaw if possible, not just the the teeth next to the implant site or the quadrant actually as much as possible, because if we can rely on the full jaw placing the guide, we gain a lot of stability, and it's also easier to use and to handle for the doctor doing the surgery later on. It is also important that when we get the doctor to scan a lot, a big area of the jaw, that we can actually use this tissue that we see in the scan for extra support. Again, if we just scan the teeth and then the doctor trims away everything, just showing the teeth, which would be perfect for a crown or a small bridge, but for a surgical guide, we actually need to see the tissue surrounding the area, both for seeing how the tissue is behaving, if we are doing flapless or with flap surgery, how the roots are located underneath the tissue, and also, as I told you, to be able to place and load the guide onto the tissue. And a nice trick for the people or persons printing the guide later on: please use transparent materials. It's so much easier when we have placed the guide on the teeth to see if it's down firmly, if there are some bleeding, if there is a tissue piece or something from the punching when doing flapless, if it's still jigged in there, so we have to remove it. It's much easier to use a transparent material.
If I may also say one thing, so transparent materials are not only available for printers, but also are available for milling. We do have some limited milling support already in 2016, and more will come in the future by next year. So again, if you're going to consider milling as your preferred choice to produce guides, please again use transparent material for the said benefits of it's just more visual on what is going on and what to consider or how to respond to doing the actual surgery.
Yeah, that's good. Before we actually do the surgery and everything, the doctor has scanned the patient with the trios. And the most common way for the doctor is to send the case to the laboratory, to ask them to make a planning, and then later on the guide as well. But in the Implant Studio, we also have the possibility for the doctor themselves to do the planning, because they are specialists in how it looks in the mouth. They know how they want the implants to be placed. So they can work with this, get their exact positioning of the implants and everything, and then send it over, communicate to the laboratory for the guide design. We have the same feature in our ortho software as well, that we can actually have it in two pieces. This is to involve the dentists, not for everybody, because everybody doesn't want to do this planning and so on, but we have the possibility.
But it's again, it's a key behavior of 3Shape products. We are adapting and we are allowing workflows which suits your preference, but also your needs in your daily work. You can focus on the part you feel strong and confident about, like planning as a clinician, but also leaving the specialty work like a guide design to the lab technician. And I think this is also like using as a connecting point to actually how we're going to design a guide, because there is many different possibilities out there. And one of the really strong benefits of using a product like Implant Studio and its guide design functionality, that we have added over the years a lot of opportunities and features in the guide design step to actually accommodate for different requirements, but also different options on how to produce or design a guide so it matches the requirements, but also expectation of the actually clinician, the surgeon, and still leaves also the flexibility to consider maybe some experience from a lab technician. So maybe you can show us what a typical guide looks like. We normally see on trade shows or been also presented by us, and then we take it from there on what are the different things we can play around with.
We, of course, can see a guide in many different ways. and taking all these principles that we just saw into consideration. This is a typical guide which has a good area to cover. It has at least 3 stable points or 25 stable points to attach to, good retention, good bars to hold on to, information about the guide and which patient it's for. Also windows to see that it's actually reached the bottom of the tooth and has set firmly. So here we have everything, and later I want to share this guide and how I designed it with you all, and this is also a part of the download that you can get later on. But for the same case, this is a case where we have a 3-unit toothless area in the 3rd quadrant in the lower, and we have chosen to place 2 implants. Of course, 3 implants works as well, but for hygiene reasons, the choice here fell on doing 2 implants, and this is one design for that. But these are also good designs for the same solution. So there is no right and wrong, but if you take all these considerations into account, a guide can actually look in different ways. So I will switch over to Implant Studio so we can look at this live instead. And later on you will find all these cases to download. So I will come back to that image in a short while. So just let me shift over to Implant Studio.
Here we go. I mean, quite inspiring to see on what is actually possible in terms of guide design. I assume some of the design ideas presented just a few seconds ago might be new to you. And as Jan pointed out, there's nothing right or wrong. It's just different ways to accomplish the same goal, to place the implants during surgery with a stable, good-fitting guide and still having the different options available. And I think you're going to elaborate on why you have chosen the different guide designs in a few seconds. So please continue, Jan.
Thank you. Here we can see this is a model. This is actually not a patient. That is why the tissue is so red. But it's nice to work on, and this model can actually be ordered, not by us, but it's in the market. And then you can have your dentists to train to place the implants with the guides they have themselves designed earlier. So it's a good opportunity to actually do surgery before they do it clinically in the mouth of a patient. So let's start with the first one. I will run through them so we can watch them and see what is specific. This was the one that I will share with you later. You can already see that I have left out space underneath the sleeves, and this is because we don't want to steer the doctor to do either flapless or with flap. Here the doctor has the possibility to choose either way. It is also very easy to rinse and suction away tissue and blood that might appear during surgery. So it's a nice and easy access for the surgeon. In the front, we have the area. Let me just change this pen here so I can show it more easy. This is good. In the front, we have the area with a small window, and here we can see that the guide has reached the bottom level and is fitting firmly, because we are using a lot of, let's close this again, we are using a lot of the tooth's undercuts for retention. So when the guide is placed in the mouth of the patient, it will be a bit tough to get in place, but then it sits firmly. So it's important. On the other side, again, a window to show that we are down firmly, not leaving any risk by having a problem with the fitting, because if it doesn't fit perfectly, the inclination or the angulation of the implants will of course be wrong. So this is a critical area to check when placing the guide before surgery. We have also put in a stabilization bar to make it more easy to remove it afterwards, but also to give stress stability between the two sides. Because if there is some torsion or flexation of the guide, this will be stabilized by the bar. And of course, it's a nice way to put some brand names on it as well.
Thank you very much, Jan. I mean, this is a really good example of showing the options you have available in designing a guide and accommodating requirements or wishes expressed by the surgeon, dentist themselves, to make sure that they feel comfortable performing the surgery in the way they like to do it. So let's move on to the next example.
The next example shows the same case. Of course, they are all from the same patient, but here we can imagine that the doctor didn't scan the fourth quadrant, but only half a jaw. This, of course, makes it more difficult to get all the retention we want, and also to get a stable guide.
Fit, yeah.
Stable fit, yeah. But of course, we will still use the windows, so we can see that it fits perfectly. It's the same principle here. But instead of using a lot of teeth for retention and to hold the guide, we are actually using the soft tissue to rest upon. And also on the inside, we can see that we have used a lot of the soft tissue. And this giving a perfect stabilization of the guide. But you can see that the small windows underneath the sleeves actually gives us the same benefits for rinsing and for bleeding out and so on. So there is no risk that there will be some material left when we place the implant later on.
Thank you. It's another good example of being creative and how to use the different the skin, but also the features we have available. What you can already see here, to use viewing windows is a key element to play around with how an actual design is being appearance at the end, but also what kind of option it's going to give to the user.
For a case, maybe not here, but for, let's say, for 4 or 5 implants, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult or stressful when you place the implants to remember which tooth was which implant am I doing, and so on. So a good tip can be to actually place the tooth numbers on the sleeves when on the guide, so the doctor easily can see that this is the 3-4 position, and of course I'm going to use the implant for tooth site number 3-4. 3-4 is the FDI standard that we use in Europe. Going to the next one, it is a bit different, and it's what I call the spaghetti guide.
Actually, we discussed it earlier today, and we create is al dente or super al dente, because it's straight strings. Nevertheless, it does exactly what we want. It's going to secure a stable guide, rigid, not bending, and yeah, making sure the surgeon can perform a surgery the way he likes it.
And here it's very easy to nim for the patient to breathe and everything, because the guide is quite elegant and easy to feel it with everything with the tongue and so on. So this is quite nice for the patient as well. But we still have the area underneath, so it can be used as a flapped surgery or flapless if the doctor wants to. So we are using circular bars to stabilize all the elements, and of course text can be placed wherever it's in contact with the bar or with the guide itself. And now for a completely new design that I don't think you have seen at all. It's the bulkhead design, where we actually use the circular bars just on top, placing them like three bulkheads on top, and of course the software cuts everything out and adapts it underneath. We can even see underneath here that there was a small undercut when placing the bar, but of course it calculates this and removes it so I can get it on and off the tooth in hand.
It's a quite delicate design, actually. Gives a very robust impression as a user, but the real point is, once again, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. And you said it earlier, it's actually what is very interesting about this design as well as it's very easy and straight to design. You do not spend much time, and this cylinders shaped geometries with undercuts for the teeth going to give a lot of stability to the guide.
Yes, and once again I've used the opportunity to place the doctor's name on it, so in the laboratory they know who it is for. Also the patient's name, so in the clinic they can easily identify which patient this guide is for, and later on during surgery we have the diameters and the lengths of the implants, so because they are of the same diameter but of different length, so it's nice to see that the shorter one goes in the front and the longer one in the back, at the back. So this is an easy way to make surgery less stressful for the doctor and more enjoyable for the patient as well.
So thank you very much, Jan, so far for the showing the 4 different options for how to design a guide. As said before, it's actually quite impressive how much you can do if you you use your imagination, your ideas on how to combine the different tools we have and features we have available in the guide design steps. Maybe let's take one more time an example of how it's been done. And yeah, so Jan, please continue.
So I've loaded up the real case that I've done all the guides on, and we will look at how we can design the first guide, and in the download folder that you will find later after the webinar, you will see a link where you can download all these cases and play with them. I call this case that I'm going to show you the best choice. So we have done implant planning, so let's go on to the next step, and there we have it. So after planning, immediately when I go over to the guided design, the sleeves and the cylinders are already there because they are fixed. But of course I can play with these and actually make a quite simple guide by just making them bigger. And actually this could work as well, just to find function as a pilot guide if I need to find the angle and where to place the drill. Maybe not for guided surgery, fully guided, but as a pilot jig it would be perfect. But let's go back and do this the real way for a fully guided surgery. So I will start by placing the paths for my guide. As you know, I can click and go, or I can drag and it will paint. I will see through things. I can remove them in the bar, in the toolbar if I don't want to see them, and so on. So this is the first path. I'm placing it a little bit deep, but also, as you can see, a little bit down into the undercuts because we need it for retention. If I excess this or do it too much, I can actually get problems getting it off, but that's not really a problem, because what happens when you cannot get it off is that it breaks, and when you're done with your surgery you don't need a guide anymore. So it's just a theoretical problem. In practice there is no problem at all. So we have the first one, and if we just look at that one, we can see how the software starts building up the guide from the last part and now going forward. Of course we have nothing in the front, so we get a small warning down here showing that we have to be aware of this problem. But let's get into the next one. Why am I dividing the guide in two parts? Well, actually I can divide it in as many parts as I like. This could be one part, the section back here could be one part, and the molar at the back one part, because everything will be stitched together afterwards and made as a full solution for the guide. But sometimes it's just easy to make it in one. Of course I can stay on the teeth, but I can also go down on the tissue. So if I do it quickly like this, you can see that the outline will actually go in between the teeth a little bit. So if I remove the model, we can actually see the path that we have made, and it looks more like a serpentine or something else than a guide outline, but by smoothing it, we can actually get it nicer. So here we can see in and outside. So now it's smooth and nice. So you can go quickly in the beginning and then just fix it, or go slow in the beginning and then get it right the first time. This is just like placing the margin line, or cleaning up a model before Model Builder, or doing it in Ortho software as well. So you recognize this from all our softwares. Good. Now I'll turn it up again. Now it looks better. A little bit here going in between, so let's fix this. If we don't fix it and try to preview it, oh, now the software is so forgiving, so it actually lets me do this. Sometimes we get these small tweaks and wrinkles and so on, and then it's difficult for the software to actually design or produce the guide. So it tells me that I have to straighten them first, but this was no problem at all. I can actually go down a little bit more here. Good. And already now we see this design that I wanted high. If by chance, stop this, if by chance the sleeves are down, all the way down in the tissue, which they can be, then you have the possibility to find the green ball and then lift them up. Again, if the sleeves are too close to the soft tissue and they are yellow, that means they are in contact with something, just find the upper one, and then you can see the top of the sleeve and the top of the implant, and then we can pull them up or push them down, how we like it to be placed inside. So these are tools you already know, but let's move this one up again. Good. So now we have the guide, but we are still missing the connection here, and we are still missing all the elements that we had before. So let me place some bars and windows. Do you have any thoughts so far?
I think it's very interesting what you're doing. Is you're also kind of highlighting the different options we have. Now we're going to look at bars and windows to connect the two sleeve supports, but also to see actually how else we could use them. So yeah, please move on.
So I will start by connecting the two elements by placing a bar, starting point and end point. And already here it looks quite easy and nice. So this could work. But as you see, it's inside the sleeves, and what will happen there? Well, again, the software cuts everything out that is inside where the implant drilling is being made, so we don't have to take that under consideration. We can make them wider, we can make them longer and so on. It's very, very easy to change the shape for the bars. Doing the next one, I just place it on the inside, coming forward, connecting everything, making it a bit wider maybe. By doing them circular, we have, of course, the strength of a circular tube and eliminating bending. So a circular shape is always nice.
Looks very good. Maybe we should add some viewing windows just so the surgeon can check while placing the guide if it's is in the right position, but also in good contact to the teeth. The good thing about the software, once again, is gives you all the design flexibility you like to have, you're looking for, and with a little bit of training, again, you can also start thinking of how else to use a viewing window. It has been originally designed as a poor viewing window to check the fit of the guide, but it can also be used to cut out some area from the guide patch in order to have good accessibility to the gingiva and to use the window to allow the blood or the material being removed during drilling to be sucked away.
Very good. Here we can see a problem area. I promised you to tell you a little bit about some solutions if you get some problems. First, as with all the software, we have to find the right angle to place it. So we can fit it in. And if we do this window too shallow, let's put it there, and only reaching through to the enamel. Let's do it like this. And now previewing this. We can see that it cuts through. We can see the teeth, but not enough. So let's make it a little bit deeper. Paste it a bit deeper. Now we will be able to see more teeth. But if we don't go deep enough with the window, we might actually have some material in between the teeth that will be give a problem when we place it, because it's in some kind of undercut maybe. So if you do a window between teeth, always go down all the way so that we know that it's actually has
really cutting out all this area.
Removed everything. So now when we look at it again from the top, we can see that there is no material in the window area.
Very good. Maybe can you show also this idea about using a viewing window to cut out some support material, for instance, the gingiva area? So maybe we can just go back to the guide design and draw, or just do it.
We can show here, if we want to show the gingiva here, for example, then we can actually go and make a window so we can see a part here. Let's add a new one. And to be able to see the soft tissue underneath. So it doesn't matter where we place the window, it will just cut a hole just as you imagine that it would.
And don't be afraid if you only cut a hole from the side you're looking at the guide, so it will not do a cut through all the way long. You have this option to extend the cutting area or range by extending the box using the handles, making it smaller, rotating it, or just moving around. Very nice, looks very good. So I think now we have had a good tour through the different tools we have available. Of course, we could also make a connection bar from the one side to another one, just to give some further support. You're just doing it right now. This is also a great way to strengthen the guide design and kind of creating a triangle resting on the teeth. It's really stiff and really basically don't bend at all.
Yeah. Remember, in the lower jaw, if you put it back here, it can cause problems with the tongue. In the upper jaw, it's no problem at all. Actually, it's perfect to have it back here in the upper jaw. I have seen guides also with full coverage in the palate, but that is a bit dangerous, because when you work in the upper jaw, you give the patient anesthesia. And when you place the guide on an anesthetized area, you will have some swelling, and the guide will actually ride on top of the swelling. So that is not a good idea. So always leave the area open in the palate. Instead, use the guide and the bars to place for handling and so on. So it's easy to use. Let's say that this is good enough, and then just go on. Get a second here, it will calculate. That looks good. And in a short while we will have the possibility, after the software has calculated all the paths and actually the interactions between all the parts. Of course, if you mark one part, you can easily remove that one, an active item, or if you are not happy with your design at all and that's bars and windows stage, you can actually remove them all. So let's just remove that one. So it looks like it did on the preview. And now we are waiting for the last steps here, the window over here to be designed. We have the bar, we have the two circular bars stabilizing everything, we have the free-flowing area underneath the guide. It is big, stabilizing, good retention, all the principles that we promised to uphold. Almost sounds like a Implant Studio constitution, but let's see if we can go to ID tag. Yes, we can. So now
I think we're coming also to the point where we have covered the main theme of the webinar today. So it was mainly about giving everyone an idea on how to use the different guide designs options we have made available in the software. We can only encourage you to use this and to play around, but also testing it with your fellow customers, dentists and surgeons. I'd like to stop here for today. It was really great to have you here, Jan. Was, as I said previously, an inspiration and to understand what can be done, but also understanding why it should be done in the one or the other way. Jan mentioned earlier, the cases are available now at Dropbox. Please feel free to download them and to use them. Further on, we have the PDF presentation or the PDF version of the presentation available. You find it in the hands-out section of the GoToWebinar tool. It's free, of course, so please download it and use it, but also feel free to share it with your colleagues. I also like to mention that as before, we're going to make a recording of this webinar and share it with you, but also to anyone else on YouTube later this week. And it's also going to be available on the 3Shape website under tutorial or training material videos. And finally, I'd like also to mention that we also have, if you move on to the IS Ready program, we have a lot of labs already been signed up to be Implant Studio Ready certified. So if you look for a partner who can produce guides for you, please consider to contact them. Please let me note that in some country, like the United States, some additional regulatory clearance needs to be obtained by the guide manufacturer. Please, if you are in doubt, please discuss that with them. It's more formality, but you should consider this. Otherwise, all of them have proven to be able to design guides and produce guides, but also to prosthetics, as long as they have checked all three boxes. I also like to encourage you to sign up for this program if you are interested or you know someone who should be part of this list. And finally, we are going to do more webinars during until the end of the year. This was part one of how to design a guide. The next webinar is going to be held on the 20th of October. We're going to look on how to link Implant Studio to Dentist System and how to run Implant Studio in combination with Dentist System. You're more than welcome to join again, and I hope this was a good day and a good experience for you, and you're going to be continuously satisfied using our products. Thank you very much from my side.
And
Jan.
Thank you for listening, and please follow up with questions or mail. And also, if you have feedback from the guides that you are able to download and design yourselves, please share them with us. And maybe if you have the possibility, take a screenshot of your guide design, and we will see if we can find the most funny or advanced design possible from this simple case.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye-bye.